Am I the idiot for calling my high school teacher a Karen and refusing to apologize? I'm a male high school student, age 17, and I work a part-time job. I work every day except Sundays and Mondays. 2 years ago, my mom, a female age 51, abandoned me. I woke up one morning to my aunt banging on my front door, saying that my mom called her and admitted to moving away with her boyfriend. My aunt and I called my mom frantically, and when she finally answered, she told us that she never wanted to be a mom. Up until this point, my mom had been amazing. She had a good-paying job, was on the PTA and everything. I begged her to come home, but she said that for her mental health, she couldn't do this any longer, and that since I was 15 at the time, I could basically take care of myself. She left me about $500, but that was it. My aunt and uncle, who is paralyzed, don't charge me anything for rent, but I still felt obligated to find a job to help out. My aunt can't work because she's a full-time caregiver, so they make ends meet with my uncle's monthly disability check. My aunt refuses to take any money from me but asked me to buy household things like toiletries. Because of this, I was able to save enough money to buy a car. My pastor owns a used car lot, and he slashed one of his car's prices in half just so I could afford it. Since I'm a senior, I usually go to my car during the opportunity block and study hall to get some sleep. I have all of the credits needed to graduate, except for 2 core classes. Seniors who have enough credits to graduate are still required to come to school, but they have opportunity blocks for studying, but most just end up in the library on the computers. Teacher and student parking lots are separate, so I was surprised when one of the 10th grade teachers knocked on my window and told me that I couldn't sleep in my car during school hours. She said it went against safety policies. I explained that I was on the opportunity block, but she told me that I needed to be inside. I did what she told me to do to avoid an argument, but the next day I went back to my car. I laid the seat flat, but she still found me. She told me that if she saw me in my car again, that she was going to have me written up. I told her that I worked, and that I would only end up going to sleep in the library. She got mad. She called me insubordinate and told me that she was going to get security because I wouldn't listen to her. I called her Karen because she yelled and demanded things of me when I wasn't bothering anyone. I ended up in the office, and the principal said that he was surprised by my attitude but asked me to apologize. I told him no because I had done nothing wrong. He said that if I didn't apologize, I'd be sent to ISS for the week, which is where I am now. Surprisingly, no one called my aunt to tell her what happened. My uncle has a pretty bad bed sore, so she's really stressed about that. So I kept this to myself. I spoke with my pastor. He says he sees where I'm coming from, but still thinks I should apologize, but I refuse. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. I can see where you are coming from. The teacher has a point. It is a security issue to let students, minors, sleep in cars unsupervised. The school is liable for your safety, so they have certain requirements you have to follow. It may not make sense to you, but that's the way things are. On top of intentionally violating security protocol, you were very rude. That's 2 things you did wrong. You should apologize. Not the idiot. However, play their game and apologize. You're so close to finishing high school, it's not worth making waves on your way out. Nap in the library for now, and if anyone gives you poop, go to the nurse's office and ask if you can nap there. Regarding the second text, please find the corrected text below. Am I the idiot for telling my boyfriend he screwed up, and he was the one who acted like a jerk in a restaurant? My boyfriend and I are both in our early 20s. This just happened like an hour ago. We meet each other for lunch a lot. Today we went to this Mexican place we'd gone to a few times before and had pretty good food. The short of it is my boyfriend wanted shrimp tacos. Not to be bogus or anything, but I'm sure you all know the type of place I'm talking about. I advised him that getting shrimp probably wasn't the best idea. He insisted on wanting shrimp tacos though. Naturally, he said they were terrible. I looked at them and they did not look good, so I believed him. He ate like half of one taco out of the 3 it came with. He was voicing his displeasure the whole time, but he had no time to order again because he needed to get back to work. When the check came, he told the server that the tacos were terrible. And the evidence is right there that he only ate half of one taco. He told the server he wouldn't be paying for the tacos. He said he would be paying cash and would pay for my food, the guacamole we got as an appetizer, and the margaritas. But he would not be paying for the tacos. The server got a manager who eventually agreed to take the tacos off of the bill. He paid for what he said he'd paid for, left a crappy tip, $5 on a $44 bill, and we left. I told him he embarrassed me, and he should have listened to me in the first place. He was angry, saying now he has to spend more money to pick up Wendy's on his way to work. He justified his poor tip by saying the server tried to tell him he needed to pay for the food he didn't eat, so the server was lucky to get what he got. I still think he brought this upon himself, so I'm mad. I told him again this is his fault, and he had no reason to act like a jerk to the server and embarrass me. Am I the idiot? In this scenario, you are the idiot. It's a reasonable assumption that food at a restaurant will be safe for consumption. Even if shrimp quality can be inconsistent. You seem to be pressing him to admit that you were right and he was wrong. You got fed bad food, went hungry, had a bad time, and you think you're the victim for being embarrassed. Not the idiot. Anyone who is rude to servers or restaurant workers isn't a good person. The server didn't buy the meal ingredients or cook them. It wasn't their fault the tacos were bad. It's also rude to argue with a manager about not paying. If you're told no, then you pay and don't go back if you don't want to. Most restaurants will either remake the food or give you something else, but not necessarily refund you. Should he have kept his cool? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for suggesting rehoming my fiance's dog? My fiancé, a 23-year-old male, adopted his dog about 1.5 years before he and I, a 21-year-old female, met. While the dog is super sweet, he's also the craziest dog I've ever met. He barks excessively, pees when he's excited, chews furniture when he's bored, and the only command he sometimes responds to is sit. Sounds like typical puppy behavior, right? But this dog is not a puppy. He's 3 years old. Admittedly, I am not much of a dog person, but I've been open to the idea of having this dog. However, now we're running into more issues than just dealing with the dog's behavior. Both my fiancé and I currently live at home, with our parents, in towns about a 1.5-hour drive apart. He graduated from university last May and is struggling to find a stable job. I am a senior graduating this May with a good job already lined up in my town. We hope to try and buy or rent a place together when I graduate. Of course, in order to do that, my fiancé needs a stable job either here, in my town, or remote. Now to the situation that brought this conversation to light. My fiancé has an interview set up with a good company in my town. If he is offered the position, we have no idea what we'd do about his living situation. My parents are open to him staying with us for a couple of months until I graduate, and we can afford a place of our own. But they will not put up with his dog, and due to the context above, I don't blame them. My fiance's parents, while used to living with the dog, both do not deserve to have the dog dumped on them and have health issues that would prevent them from giving the dog the care it needs. If my fiancé is offered the position, it would frankly be stupid of him to refuse. He needs a good job and fast, and so I brought up rehoming the dog. Now, before people start going crazy about needing to take responsibility for your pets, I do not at all mean we should dump the dog at a shelter. I want to put in the time to find the dog a nice family with energetic, middle-aged kids that love the dog and play with him regularly. Honestly, even if we found a way to keep the dog around, I think the dog would be miserable. I don't think it would be right to leave the dog locked up at home from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday while my fiancé and I are at work and or school. I wouldn't wish that life on any dog, but especially not a dog this energetic. My fiancé is angry I'd even brought up the idea. He says the dog is his best friend and that this isn't an option. He also accused me of just thinking of his dog as an inconvenience. I wouldn't say I think of the dog as an inconvenience. I know the dog means a lot to my fiancé, but honestly, yes, the dog is making things much more difficult, and its uncontrollable behavior isn't helping. If I did have to live with this dog, I would absolutely try my best to make it work, going to training classes and enforcing positive behaviors at home. But I do think that rehoming may be a better option. So am I the idiot for suggesting rehoming my fiance's dog? You're the idiot. You're complaining about and wanting to rehome a dog that you don't even live with. You claim that you're all for training the dog and taking care of it, so do that. Right now, you're inventing a problem just so you can push your own version of a solution. It sounds to me like a play for control more than anything else. This is further supported by your assertion that he must find work either in your town or remotely. I get that you have a job lined up, but you haven't started it yet. Your assumption that he needs to make all of these changes to support your whims is unfair, to say the least, especially since it sounds like you're making zero compromises on your side. Not the idiot. Sadly, people will jump at you, insisting you are a cruel and selfish person. I will likely get downgraded because I disagree with them. I think it's ridiculous to put any animal above the well-being of your life. My well-being matters. I spent money on the items in our home. Smells matter to me. I have adverse reactions to them. It's one thing to raise a puppy. It's a completely different thing to deal with a destructive dog. Would you keep the dog? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for making a driver give me his insurance after he hit my car? I was driving home from practice today, and my sister was in the passenger seat. I was in a rush to get home. While I was driving, I was in the middle lane out of 3. A person in the lane to my right was trying to switch lanes in front of me, and I wasn't letting them. They had been driving slow, and I didn't feel like letting them in because I was going faster, but their lane was close to ending, and when it did, they'd have to make a turn. There was no car directly behind me. If they wanted to, they could have slowed down even more and switched lanes behind me. They didn't want to do that but were getting impatient since I wasn't letting them in, so they decided to switch lanes anyway and try to scare me into letting them in, even though they knew I was beside them. I didn't budge, and they swept the side of my car and went back to their lane. I slowed down and told my sister to take a picture of their license plate. I rolled down the window and had her signal the driver to pull over. They pulled over, and I told them to give me their insurance. They had scratched up the right side of my car pretty good, as well as the left side of their own car. The driver told me that they wouldn't be able to afford the cost of their insurance rate increasing from the accident and asked me to let it go. I told them I wasn't going to let it go and that if they couldn't afford to pay for the damages, they shouldn't have caused it. They gave me their insurance info, but they called me a heartless idiot and said I should have just let them switch lanes. I think I'm in the right, and it's their fault for recklessly trying to force me to yield, but my sister thinks I should have just let them change lanes, and I shouldn't have taken their insurance since my parents can afford to pay the damages, although they would be pissed about it. I told her the driver could have been lying to get out of paying, and that they brought it on themselves. We argued over it while I finished the drive home. The argument has stuck with me through the night, so I went to ask here. So let me know, am I the idiot? Edit. I saw someone bring it up, so I just wanted to clarify that when I say I had them give me their insurance, I mean that I went through the normal process for after a crash to have insurance handle it. In my state, you exchange insurance, license, and call the cops. I answered questions from the authorities and gave them my insurance. I let them handle the other driver once they arrived. The process went relatively quickly, and I drove home when they said I could. I shortened it for the post, but I realize it's probably good to clarify this for anyone who is worried about if I went through the proper process. Edit 2. I've seen people bring this up, so I want to clarify it here. The other car was in a turn lane, not a zipper merge. At the end of the lane, you have to make a right turn into a shopping center. Additionally, I've also seen people be confused by my poor phrasing of some things, so I'll try to be clearer about the situation. I was going at a consistent speed of 48 miles per hour. The speed limit is 45. People in my area honk and tailgate if you go the speed limit. It's normal to go 2 to 3 over. Cops in my area don't care unless you're going 5 or more over, so it's typically safer to speed slightly. To my left was the fast lane, where there were cars going well over 50, and I remember being easily passed many times. To my right was the turn-only lane. The right lane doesn't last long. Most of my drive home is 2 lanes, then it splits into 3 for a short time. The third lane is mostly used for people who want to make turns, although some people also use it as a way to go slower. It first begins a little bit before it gives the opportunity to turn onto the highway, then it turns to a church, finally, it turns to the shopping center, and then goes back to 2 lanes. I usually stay in the right lane because the turn to get to my neighborhood and house is from the right lane, so it's easiest to stay in this one lane the whole drive. The person in the turn-only lane was going somewhere between 35 to 40 miles per hour, and must not have realized it was turn-only. I was in the process of passing them when they turned on their turn signal. The front half of my car was aligned with the back half of their car. I hope that I have cleared up some questions. Everyone sucks here. Congratulations on standing your ground and not letting someone whose lane was ending merge in front of you. You ended up with a scratched-up car that your parents will have to pay to fix if it turns out the other driver's insurance lapsed or was canceled. Maybe one day, when you're more mature and mom and dad don't pay your body shop bills, you'll try harder to avoid accidents. Not the idiot. It's on the merger to find a place to merge into, so they're an idiot for hitting your car anyway. They're also an idiot for trying to keep this stuff off record, as depending on who you have insurance with, all of this has to be reported to the police anyway. Was this his fault? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for making fun of my father for crying while watching the movie Up? My dad likes to bother me for having childish interests. I collect Lego, watch animated movies, date people who are into cosplay like I am, etc. Yes, I do all that stuff. I am also 35 with a career, and I own my own home, well, me in the bank for now. I played a fairly rough sport at an intercollegiate level. I am pretty comfortable with my masculinity and find his lack of understanding more amusing than hurtful. I was over at his place with my girlfriend, and we were talking about Netflix because he uses my account, and they are getting finicky about it. I said that Disney Plus was still okay to use, and he started in on me for watching kids' shows. He and my mom watch old TV shows and nature shows on it. He is an ass, so he asked my girlfriend if I did cosplay as a girl. She is not as used to him as I am, and I had to move the conversation along before she started something. So I convinced him to watch a movie with us so I could show him why I enjoyed the movies. I chose up. He would not shut up during the beginning when the kids met, but he was intent during the part with no dialogue. He and my mom were both crying at the end when the old guy was sitting alone on the steps to his house. I paused it and asked him if he needed a hanky. He called me an idiot and got up and left. My mom said there was stuff in that scene that probably brought up bad feelings for him. She did not elaborate. I apologized to him, and then I asked if he understood that the cartoons I watch are multi-layered and aren't just for kids. He said he understood, but he is still upset that I mocked him for crying. He has had no problem belittling me for my choices for over 20 years, but he is bothered because I made fun of his emotions. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot. You had the win. You showed your dad that animated films are amazing art when they are at their best, and then you stooped to his level. You did the toxic masculinity thing and mocked a man for showing emotions. That's your father, and he had a breakthrough that you could have cherished and used as a bonding experience, and you threw it away. Be better. Not the idiot. A dose of his own medicine. Definitely food for thought. Maybe take him out for a beer and ask him how he feels, if it changed how he thought. Say you're sorry again for the jab, but give him the opportunity to deal with the situation as a teen with you, to grow with you in a way a man of his generation would understand. Beer for sure. Should the son have held back? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you want more fun stories, like and subscribe.